Welcome to the Art of Healing with your host, Dr. Judy Jasek of Animal Healing Arts, and myself, Matt Rowe of ParsleyPet. During our show, we are talking about your pet's health, raw feeding, and alternative treatments for cancer, unexplained illnesses, and supporting your pet's natural ability to heal. Welcome, Dr. Judy, to this week's show.
Thanks, Matt. Great to be here, as always.
Yeah. So we were talking about in the pre-show right before we got on, we are going to step into a potentially very scary holiday for your pets, and that is the 4th of July. Now, if your neighborhood's anything like mine, all the kids found their fireworks from last year and they are letting them off.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people needing to let off some steam. They're probably doing it through their fireworks.
Yeah. And I'm going to be honest, if I had them, I'd probably let off a couple of them myself. But you were talking about your puppy, Wiley. And how old is Wiley?
He's 13.
13. So an absolutely young Chihuahua. And I love Wiley. When I bring Leo over, when I get to see Dr. Judy, Wiley is like, don't mess with my mom. I'm gonna bite
Oh
your
yeah.
off.
He's my 9-pound protector, that's for sure.
As Jamie puts it, the centurion that you have to get across. So
exactly.
So with that, Wiley, with fireworks going off, what happens to Wiley?
He's really nervous about noises. Thunderstorms especially. Thunderstorms are especially bad, which we haven't had that many thunderstorms this year. It's been kind of odd, but he gets really nervous with the loud noises, and he'll just he likes to be close. So if I'm around, and he'll come and look at me and he'll be shaking, and if I can just sit and hold him, it's like if he can be close to somebody, then he feels okay. That's not always practical. If I'm working, he'll be like under the desk at my feet, or at my husband, he can get into the office. He'll be up there under Chris's feet, just trying to be like under something and close to somebody. Yeah. And then usually like the neighborhood fireworks, I'm usually not going too terribly long in the evening, it's maybe an hour or so. 4th of July will be longer. But I found with him that I can just kind of hold him close and he'll kind of settle down. But if you have a big dog, they can actually get pretty destructive because they just from being afraid.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, I mean, your dog has no idea what's going on. All they hear are the booms, and in some cases, reverberations. They're more sensitive. I mean, they have all 4 paws on the ground, and they might be feeling a little bit of the repercussions, or the seismic activity would be the big word I want to use. But yes, I mean, they're feeling the boom. They're feeling all of that. And if you have no idea what that is, and you only experience it, let's say once or twice a year or 3 times a year, it can be traumatic.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And they don't know what to do. Like when you're frightened, like when we're frightened, the typical thing is, fight or flight or freeze. So what do they do? And what can happen on the 4th of July? And I've heard so many of these stories. People leave their pets like outside, like they go watch the fireworks and they leave them outside in the yard, and the pets will get scared and they'll run off. They'll jump the fence. And I hear all the time that like the shelters just get overrun with dogs that they pick up because they get afraid. They're trying to run, like they hear it and they don't know where it's coming from. Like you said, they don't really know what is going on. They're just afraid. And a lot of times they'll just take off and they'll panic. Or at home, I mean, they might try to get under things. They might even try to get out of the house. So it's really important, especially if you're going to like go to the fireworks or go to some 4th of July gathering and leave your pet at home, be sure they're safe. And pets will hurt themselves trying to get out of crates. If you have a plastic crate and you have a big dog and they start to try to chew their way out of it, they can get their mouths all bloody. And when they're panicked, you think, oh, my pet would never do that. But when they're panicked, you just have no idea what they're capable of doing. So probably putting them in a like an interior room in the house, like if you had a small bathroom that you could bed down, give them some water, and where they're and put some sound, some music or something like that. I always like to leave music playing too for Wiley if I'm going to be leaving and there's a chance of it storming, or if I am going somewhere on the 4th. That music just to kind of block out the noise a bit.
Yeah.
It doesn't block it out completely, but I think it does help.
Yeah, I mean, you would think that it would help to have something that's a little bit more normal, because I can't imagine it's the first time he's ever listened to it or has heard that, the music playing. So yeah, so you're really trying to create a space of familiarity. So when you're looking at it from a standpoint of big spaces versus small spaces, is it better to create that small space environment, kind of like if your dog was wild, they would live in a cave, or they would live underneath brush, or they'd live somewhere where they felt protected.
Right. And I think it gives them like less to have to keep track of. Like if you're in the middle of a big room and there's lots of windows and there's this noise, like where's the noise coming from, and do I want to leave or should I stay? But if they're in a more confined environment, they are naturally den animals. So they do typically like to be a little more enclosed. Like I said, you just want to make sure it's not something that they'll try to chew their way out of.
No, and that's a great point to be made too, is that when we try to crate them, which is a great thing to do, is if your dog is crate trained in that, but under a moment of anxiety, definitely watch where they could chew. And because if you thought you were in a life or death situation as a human being, wouldn't you do everything you could to keep yourself safe, down to the point of you'll cause damage to yourself to get out of a dangerous situation? Well, your dog is the same. They are not thinking about, oh, my lip's bleeding. They're not thinking about, oh, I got my paw stuck. They're thinking about, I need to get out of the way I feel or where I'm at right now, no matter what.
Right. Exactly.
So, are there any products that you believe and trust in that we could somewhat preemptively, before we go to the fireworks display or the fireworks show, we could give our dogs either the hour or 2 hours before to help them with that anxiety?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And of course, I always like to start with more natural products. So there's things like essential oils. So essential oils are distillates from plants. And so oils such as lavender, chamomile, things like that. Valerian, I'm trying to think of the word, valerian is another great one. A lot of times you can find calming blends with the essential oils. And I really like the oils because I think they're so potent, and you can diffuse them if you have an essential oil diffuser, which basically just releases these oils into the room where your pet's going to have an exposure all the time. You can even put on earlier in the day, so they're just nice and chill. Take them out for a good long walk before you leave, so they're at least starting a little bit tired. But essential oils are great. Flower essences are also great. So flower essences are also extracts from plants, specifically the flowers, and they're typically in a tincture, usually made with brandy. They get this nice kind of warming smell, but there's not enough alcohol to harm your pet. Actually, I think they do make some now that are alcohol free. If you have cats, and you wanted to give a little flower essence, but not the alcohol because cats don't like the taste of that. You can buy these typically at like a natural grocery store. Just look for the Bach flowers. There's one called Rescue Remedy, which has been around a long time. And that's a combination of 5 different flower essences that can be very calming. And that's just a great place to start. You can buy, there's like 38 of the actual Bach flower brand that you can buy. But if you just start with the Rescue Remedy, you can put that right in the water. And again, during this time of year where there's a lot of thunderstorms, fireworks going off, like you said, almost every day now, you could just, every time you fill the water dish, just put some of that in the water. And you could do that. You can have your essential oils diffusing. And at least these are things that will help kind of take the edge off. And then
Okay.
we were talking about CBD
Mhm.
pre-show too. CBD can definitely alleviate anxiety.
Mhm.
It varies a lot with the different plant and different pets.
Yeah.
So each tincture that, different brand of CBD tincture that you buy is coming from a slightly different plant. It's all hemp, but they're all different genetically, just like we're all a little bit different genetically. And so they're going to have different effects on your pet. So if your pet has a lot of anxiety and you try a CBD product and you just don't notice any difference, doesn't seem to help,
Mhm.
two things. One, you can try increasing the dose because it's very safe.
Yep.
And I would suggest, as we're getting into this season and the 4th of July is coming up, uh, get a product and experiment with the dosages, because
Okay.
some pets at certain dosages it'll actually cause some excitation, which is the
Mhm.
opposite effect
Yeah.
that you want. And that's just a matter of playing with the dose. So you can play with the dose on a
Mhm.
given product. If you just don't seem to be able to hit a dose that helps with the anxiety, try a
Mhm.
different product. That doesn't mean
Yeah.
there's anything wrong with the product. Again, the plant strains are all very different genetically. And
Mhm.
so you want to find one that works for your pet, but you want to know ahead of time what the dose is, because we usually recommend starting low, starting at a low dose and working up to
Mhm.
find the effective dose for your pet. But you don't want to just leave and give them a low dose of CBD and hope it works. You want to
Yeah.
know what that level is. And all of these different things work together too. So I
Mhm.
would suggest doing all of these things. They're very safe. So you do the essential oils, you do the Bach flowers, and do the CBD,
Mhm.
and it can definitely help. Create the safe space for your pet. Give them a favorite chew toy. Play music so
Yeah.
they're a little bit distracted. And you can also get. I've prescribed a lot of tranquilizers over my years as a veterinarian, because some pets are just they get so panicked that they will literally hurt themselves, even
Yeah.
if the people are there. I mean, they're just
Mhm.
so panicked about it that sometimes we would do something like a little Valium or
Mhm.
some conventional tranquilizer to help.
Yeah.
That's a last resort in my opinion, but we don't want to risk the pet getting hurt.
Mhm.
And I would still suggest doing all these other things. See if you can help keep the anxiety level lower. Then if we do need to go with a more
Right.
conventional sedative, we don't have to use as much, but you can just give a little bit just to take the edge off. I've done that for my little Wiley when I've um, was going to be leaving town on the holiday, and was just so worried. Even though I had somebody checking on him, I was just so worried
Right.
about him freaking out during the times that he was there by himself
Mm.
that I would sedate him. I experimented again with the dose that seemed to work for
Mhm.
him, and I could get him at a dose where he'd just sleep through everything.
Yeah.
So that's an option too, But again,
Right.
be on top of it, because
Mhm.
veterinarians are busy, and
Mhm.
if you're going to be calling, I don't even know what day the 4th is. I think it's a Saturday this year.
Mhm.
You're going to be calling the day before. Just be aware they're going to be inundated with those calls, and
Mhm.
it's going to be hard for them to help everybody. If they haven't seen your pet in a while, they
Mhm.
might want to do an exam first, and they may not be able to get you in. So be a
Right.
little preemptive. If you think that's going to be necessary for your pet, then start making plans now
Mhm.
to have that type of thing on hand if your pet really gets freaked out.
Yeah, and I love the point that you made, which is experiment before the actual day of. Like, know how your pet is being affected by. And I know with Leo, too, if I don't give the right dosage amount of CBD, it excites him.
Yeah.
So he'll start to get into this crazy, like running around the yard. And we're sitting there at some point thinking, I gave him CBD. Shouldn't he calm down? Well, it's the dosage that I gave him that really
Mm-hmm.
was more of the word used, it dovetailed with exciting, but it definitely excited his nervous system and it didn't calm it down under that, the right dosage. Once we figured out the dosage with him, we know how to calm him. And then we have another product that uses valerian root and chamomile.
Mm-hmm.
So we then can give him, both, and we've got that dosage. But this is an experiment that we've been doing, and it took about a week to figure out what is best for Leo. And once we have that dosage amount, then we can incorporate that into his diet on a regular basis. So because we're headed out of town for the 4th of July. And so we have somebody coming over to the house. They're really giving him specialized attention and doing all that type of stuff. But it's different with the family being in and your dog is comfortable with you. To have somebody outside coming in and watching your pets during a time like leaving for the 4th of July, they're not privy to this happening all of the time. So it's really part of, us leaving is educating the caregiver that's coming
Mm-hmm.
over to watch both of our puppies to really set that stage for them, and so that they're successful and they actually have an enjoyable time watching your dogs.
Right.
And they're there not because of obligation. They're there because they enjoy it. That's their business. That's what they like to do. So we want to help them be as successful as possible, but it starts with experimenting with those dosages right now.
Yeah. And that's a really great point too, because a lot of people do leave town for the holiday,
Mm-hmm.
and make sure that whoever is taking care of your pet understands the directions, go over everything with them, ask them when they're going to be coming by. Because if it's a in-home pet sitter, they're taking care of a lot of pets. And so
Right.
ideally there's a certain timing where you want to get you really want to have like a sedative on board before they get scared. Once they're
Yeah.
scared, we're not going to have as good a success with
Right.
any type of sedative, even if it's a conventional one, getting them to calm down. You really want to have it on board ahead of time. So you want to ask them about the timing. When are they going to be able to come by? When can they, give the appropriate supplements or medications? Or if you do put your dog in a boarding kennel, be asking the same questions. Make sure that they're okay with giving the things that you want them to give, and give very, very explicit directions, because it's might be something people are not familiar with giving. So don't assume that, they've done this before and they should know. Just be very, very explicit with your directions, if you're going to be gone.
Mm-hmm. So, but what you're saying is you cannot over communicate to the caregiver that's really there watching your dog, because there's some peace of mind too that, oh, okay, I'm going to be giving CBD and it's in tincture form. And if your instruction is give CBD to Leo,
Yeah, right. Not very specific.
not very safe. You're missing, really, and even if it's not harmful and there's really going to be no, issues with giving CBD to Leo, if they don't know the correct dosage amount that turns him from excited to calm, you really could create a bigger storm because you didn't share, oh, you need to give 10 milligrams of CBD to Leo in order for the effects to happen and that type of stuff. And also giving them that comfort to go, oh, I am actually promoting their health and keeping them calm and not hurting them by giving them a medication, even if it's natural under those pretenses. So have you experimented with valerian root in doing that type?
Yes, I have. I mean, I've tried it actually on Wiley. I haven't seen a lot of really great success with him. I've had other clients try it, and it varies a lot with the individual pet. And this is why you want to experiment ahead of time, because plants, this is a biological interaction, and every being is going to experience a slightly different effect from a given plant. Like, you talk to people that have trouble sleeping. Some people can take valerian, knocks them out. Me, doesn't do anything for me. Or chamomile, or sometimes it's a combination. So that, again, this is the experimentation. You have to figure out what works best for your pet, and it takes some time. Like, you've experienced, it takes some time to figure that out. The good thing is these plant products are very, very safe. So you can get some of these formulations You probably want to get a tincture. So if you
Okay.
have a herbal tincture, you're going to be extracting more of the properties from the plant than say a capsule that's just got the ground up
Mhm.
plant in it.
Right.
So the most, you're going to get the most benefit probably from the plant by
Mhm.
using a tincture.
Yeah.
Next thing would be if you did have some of the dried herb, at
Mhm.
least do a tea. So
Okay.
pour hot water over it, let it steep, and then use the cold liquid. Just put it
Mhm.
in with your pet's food or something like that. Tincture is easier because you just shoot some in their mouth. You
Yeah.
know, it's a little bit simpler. And also make sure you're getting your tinctures from a reputable company.
Mhm.
Ideally organic. Don't just buy the cheapest one you can find because they're not
Yeah.
all created equal. Sometimes they're diluted out to the
Yeah.
point that they don't do any good. They're not processed correctly. They're not harvested
Mhm.
correctly. So
Right.
you do want to do, again, start early, do some
Mhm.
homework. You don't want to be on the third and be like, oh crap, I don't have anything for the dog for tomorrow and we're going to be
Yeah.
gone. And, start early, do some experimentation, see what works
Mhm.
for your individual pet.
And you brought up a great point that, when you look at the source of where you're getting your product from, the cheapest is not always the best because it potentially is not going to work or they've diluted it. So really is understanding. And we're going to have an episode, not next week because we're out for the 4th of July next week, but the week after, the week of the 7th, we are actually going to do a show on CBD.
Mm-hmm.
And so, talking about how they actually grow it, where they're extracting the plant, how they're making that tincture, and really knowing your source of your product is critically important when it comes to CBD. It's not the just because they use a CBD name, it meets all standards. It
Mm-hmm.
really goes and says, okay, this is the amount of CBD that's in here, and they have to share that by law. But they don't have to share that it's industrial hemp from China, for example, that
Right.
is filled with toxins. Also, they don't have to share their extraction process. If they use oils or alcohols or chemicals to extract the CBD out of it, they don't have to share that. And so, really, upon some of that criteria is as a pet owner, knowing the company that you are actually going to buy it from. I know my wife and I have been in the business for 7 years, and there was a period where we sold CBD products for a few years. And so, you get to know that's a reputable source, that is not a reputable source. And so what we really looked at is what is the strength of the CBD, not only in um, actual milliliters, the actual 600 milligram, 400 milligram, 150, whatever that milligram dosage is. It was really the more the potency and the success of it came from how they were actually
Mm-hmm.
manufacturing it.
Yeah. And, I always think, and I think this is true with most any business.
Mm-hmm.
Businesses should be very transparent. When you start asking questions, they should be happy to
Mm-hmm.
answer questions and not be evasive and not change the subject and not
Yeah.
give vague answers. You start getting that, especially in like the CBD and the whole cannabis industry,
Mm-hmm.
it is not regulated. There is
Yeah.
no, because of the federal, it's
Mm-hmm.
still federally illegal. There's
Right.
no there's no agency watching. It's really up to the
Mm-hmm.
companies
Yeah.
to put out a good quality product. So like I
Right.
have brands, here local to me that I know are good products that I feel
Mm-hmm.
comfortable recommending. I think there's other good companies out there. But you need to know what questions to ask, and we can talk more
Yeah.
about that when we get more into it in that on that episode.
Yeah, no, and I think it's great. So, really, the biggest thing that Dr. Judy and I want to make sure that you understand after today's show, because we're coming into a potentially very scary time for your dog, is start now. Start experimenting with whatever product that you are going to give that's going to relieve the anxiety and see how your dog reacts to it. So, for example, if with the right amount of CBD, your dog should remain calm and sleep. With the wrong amount of CBD, your dog could become overly excited. So, but knowing that before the day happens. And also protecting your dog as well is, where is their environment? Are they going to be scared? Are they going to potentially cause issues trying to chew through a door or a crate, or all of those types of, areas where there could be risk, and assess where their environment is and how to keep them as safe as possible during this time.
Mm.
And, we had talked a little bit about your dog being a den animal. So they want things over their head. They want to be protected. I know I used to have a Labrador, Doc, and Doc would hide under our bed. Doc didn't fit under the bed. Doc
I was
could
gonna
go.
say, you must have had a tall bed.
Oh, I didn't. And Doc could go one way under that bed and then sit underneath there and get stuck.
Oh no.
And it was all, and there's nothing we could do to keep her from going under the bed when there were explosions
it's
outside.
it's their instinct. One thing I forgot to mention are these compression shirts, like the Thunder shirts. There's a couple different ones out there. This is something else that varies with the individual. They can help. I actually have one of those for Wiley, and I found that it does help with his anxiety. But that's something else. Get your dog used to it ahead of time. You don't want to throw this on your dog as something they're completely, because they're tight. I mean, they're snug, but they're designed to just provide. It's like, I love to, sleep in a cool bedroom under lots of blankets. Like this, that kind of compression feeling is kind of comforting. And dogs can be the same way. Now they're all going to react differently again. So don't put this on your dog right before you leave on the 4th and it's never been on them before. Get them used to it now. And again, see how they react to it. Because you could even put some like lavender or one of the essential oils right on the shirt and see if it helps. But definitely check it out before you have to use it.
So do your homework to keep your dog safe during this period. And I love what you said about the shirts, is don't put it on them the day you leave. Like if you're going and you're leaving the house, why introduce anything new? Everything should be somewhat recognizable. So it's nothing new, nothing scary under the pretense. So then it just starts to add and build into that anxiety that your dog may experience during fireworks. So take your time now to do it. Now is the time to take action. So if everybody watching this, just know that you cannot start too early experimenting with how to actually calm your dog. We do it for ourselves. That if we're driving a car and somebody cuts us off, we work on things to keep us calm so we don't get into road rage while we're driving a car.
We would hope that that's the case.
There's a lot of hope with that statement.
I hope you're not out there driving around road raging, Matt.
No.
Because you live nearby me. So if that's I want to make sure if that's, your MO.
I didn't know. I kind of grew up, so I didn't want to have that in my life. And so I actually had to work on that before somebody cut me off on the road, just like you have to work on how you're going to calm your dog as you go down the road. So I promise I won't road rage while I'm driving around our neighborhood, to making sure that, everyone is as safe as possible. But do that for your pet during this time. So, Dr. Judy, what's the best way that somebody could get a hold of you?
Well, my business name is Animal Healing Arts, and the website is ahavet.com. The email is info@ahavet.com. And the phone number is 720-515-2421.
And I highly recommend reach out to Dr. Judy, get to know her, have Dr. Judy get to know your pet. She is brilliant. And she's going to ask questions, and she's going to take time with you and not just get you in, get you out. It's not that. It's really is understanding how best to help support your animal, and especially during this time as well. So you can always find me or our company, ParsleyPet, and by going to ParsleyPet.com. You can also reach out to us via email, hello@ParsleyPet.com. And we are regularly running classes and specials and that type of stuff. So definitely keep an eye out for other events that we have coming up. So thank you, Dr. Judy, for spending this time with us today.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate you hosting.
Oh, it is always a pleasure. One of my favorite parts of the week. All right. We'll see you. I
Bye,
hope everybody
everybody.
is safe, and I
Stay
hope
safe.
your puppies are safe during this 4th.